Hi there, and want to welcome you to AdWords Masterclass Session 3. And as you can see in that beautiful lobster font, the topic for today is YouTube and scripts. And my goodness, if scripts don't allow you to do all kinds of amazing, wild, cool stuff. So, Mike, great to have you on.
Thank you, sir.
Have at
Good
it.
to be here. Thanks. All right, so yeah, agenda for the day. We will dive deep into YouTube and have a look at the new interface that they've rolled out in the last 2-3 months. Really dig into the how-to of setting that up and a few do's and don'ts. Then a look at scripts. Obviously, in the time we have available, I am not going to try and turn you into a JavaScript coder. I'll give you a couple of good resources, though. Really, I just want to talk there about what is possible and give you a bunch of examples and send you off in the right direction. And then talk about the dashboard, where we have collated probably about 10 or 15 scripts to date, where we're going to create this dashboard for you that you'll get access to. You don't get the scripts because there's 400 plus hours of work gone into that. And I obviously want to retain some IP there, but you do get the dashboard if that's the part of the program that you've signed up for. So I'm going to show you that and just give you a little 5-minute sort of how to use that. But before we get there, let's talk about YouTube. And specifically, I'm going to talk about the true view ads within YouTube, not the reserved by. So there is another option. If you want to do certain things, if you want to have ads that you can't skip that run for 30 seconds, or ads, these non-skippable ads in the middle of videos, which I personally find incredibly annoying, or you want to take over the YouTube homepage and buy the masthead space on the homepage, that'll set you back. I think in the States it's around about 70 grand for a day. Here in Australia it's around 40. You can get it cheaper than that, 30, 35 maybe, but they're booked out for about a year. I can't imagine that anyone on the call would want to do that, so we're not going to talk about reserved buys. I had a car client spending 6 figures a month, and Google were hounding me to get them to do a homepage takeover, a homepage masthead on YouTube, and I said, you realize how many cars they would have to spend just to make up for that one day, how many cars they'd have to sell rather. I just can't see how it's making money for anybody. But if you're the type of business that spends 10 million a year on TV, then 40 grand for a day probably seems like a bargain, and you don't really measure ROI that much. Anyway, let's keep going. There are a few places.
True words.
I don't think it's a bargain because I like to look at ROI. Few places that your ads can show, but I'm going to focus on YouTube. I'm not going to talk about video ads that show across the GDN and double-click ad exchange and stuff like that. We're going to focus on the YouTube side of things, which narrows it down quite nicely. We've got in-stream and in-display. Now, for those old-timers, there used to be a third option here, which was called in-search. In-search kind of still exists, but it's all rolled up into in-display now. And that looks like this. So in-stream are the skippable ads that show generally at the beginning of the video that you're trying to watch. So this is a watch page, as it's called inside of YouTube, where you are watching a particular video. This is the watch page. In-stream shows up before that video that you were trying to get to. Perry talking about 80-20 in this case. In display is the right hand side there, so you can choose to place a thumbnail of your video along with a little 2-line ad over on the right hand side. The in search, so obviously YouTube is the world's second biggest search engine. Lots of people do it, go to YouTube and search for keywords. Those ads at the top of the page of search results inside of YouTube, that's what we used to call in search, but it's now lumped in together with in display. Because essentially, and I'll get to this in a second, but you pay YouTube as soon as somebody clicks on your ad for in display, whether it's here or back over here on the right hand side of this page. You pay as soon as they click on the thumbnail, as soon as they click on the ad, regardless of how long they then go on to watch. With the in-stream, you pay later, as I'll explain in a second. So, which to use? Let me explain InStream first. Now, InStream, if and when somebody clicks on your ad, you're generally going to take them off YouTube, and so you're going to need a landing page, and obviously you're going to have to comply. We're not going to have a big discussion about compliance here, but if you're doing something that's a little grayer, then you may want to consider in-display, because you don't need to worry about having a landing page. In Stream, you do. And you probably know this, so this should be a recap, but it did change earlier this year, so it's worth just going over. You're probably familiar with the fact that you can't skip for the first 5 seconds, because we all watch those videos and we're hovering over the skip button. I know 2-year-olds that know how to skip ads.